like the reality is that the reason people are struggling, to your point, the reason people are faking it is because people are not confident in who they are, which is a very real reality, and that's not a new thing. That has been a human truth forever. But the reality is you need to put out things that provide value, and they can come in a lot of shapes and sizes. There's people like myself who've built large audiences, and we can analyze that. I'll tell you who I'm really fascinated by. The people who are posting on a daily basis, who have very tiny audiences and enjoy it to no end. They enjoy it because they just want to share videos of them playing video games or cooking or things of that nature. This becomes a very simple game of why are you doing this? If you're doing it because you enjoy it and it is a hobby, no different than playing golf or sailing or skiing, you do it because you love the thing that you're putting out there and it's part of the process, you're gonna win. The problem is too many people want certain things and they want it fast. So now people are like, oh, I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna become famous and get brand deals and I'm gonna be a millionaire in a week because I'm big on TikTok, and that's a disaster framework, right? A lot of other people spend their time on there trying to scare and hurt people because they themselves are scared and hurt, right? I tell people all the time, a lot of people are like, I can't post anymore. The negative comments crush me. And I ask them, I'm like, do you ever think about, instead of being upset for yourself, being compassionate to the person that's leaving that? If somebody takes time out of their day to come to your page and tell you you suck, their life is horrible. Don't feel bad for yourself, feel bad for them. So, for me, what I would tell everybody here is understand.
What do you do? Because people
I just want to do for the world.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
Something out
Yep.
there. You're like, hey, morning time in
Yep.
New York.
Yep.
It's like, hey, Gary, easy for you to say you're not dealing with this, or like, this is what's going on. Like, life's great for you. Like, and by the way,
I say,
nice hat. Like,
I say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you know nothing about my life. You think you do. You don't know how I got here. You don't know what's actually happening. The biggest issue right now is America has fallen in love with pointing fingers. The second you get into thumbs, it gets real good. When people are accountable, the reason I have no judgment on anyone is because I know I don't actually know what's going on in their lives. You have no idea if their mom just called and said their father's terminally ill. You have no idea about anything. You think you know. You think you know, and it makes you feel good to judge because it's a micro release of what you're feeling. So for me, when people say easy for you, I'm like, first of all, honestly, I struggle to even get into you don't know me because I go into deep compassion of like, damn, you're gonna need to go there because you're not in a great place. I hope that gets better. I don't post content to get affirmation. I post content. At this point, I've come to realize I'm posting content because I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I had such a remarkable mother who built me up. And so I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna try to do for the world what my mom did for me. And if somebody's willing to listen, good.
So you're not sitting there going, hey, that video did well. Let's do more of that.
Well, that's interesting. This is where I get to win twice. I'm doing what I'm doing because of my life's journey, and I just said it. Over here, I'm running the most progressive, largest, fastest growing independent agency in the world. And so when I'm able to use the insights of the Garyvee content, or the VFriends content, or the WineText content to give us insights of the things that we need to bring to our Procter & Gamble, or our Pepsi, or our Ford client, I'm looking at the data not only because I want to do a better, when you're trying to do something good for the world, you want all 8 billion people to hear it. I want you all to hear it. So I'm looking at it to figure out the angles of what we call SOC, strategic organic content. Too many people post without any thought of what is required to make a post do well. What's the post-production? What time do you post it? What's the copy that supports it? What's the first 3 seconds of the video? What's the overlay image? So I don't think people are putting enough strategy into it. So yes, I am looking at that, but that's a little bit more to feed the operational beast and to give me an at-bat, the next video, to get as many people to hear it. Everybody's so crippled by decisions, but you never know how the other thing worked out. Let me give you an example. Let's say you don't go to college. and you start this business and you were 100% right and it's huge and you're doing so great, but because you did that, you had to fly to America for a big meeting and your plane crashed and you died. That would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Or you think you're gonna go to college because it's a good experience and you'll meet people. You can meet people in a business. You're not gonna know. As some of you guys know, I famously passed on Uber twice, which means currently I missed out on $600 million. You could think that's a mistake, or if I would have invested in Uber, maybe I'd be somewhere else right now and picking up a disease that would kill me a year later. Baby, I think people overthink decisions. You'll never know what the alternative would have been. So just pick one and do it.
So you're saying that if I don't go to college, I won't be missing out on anything? Like,
No, I understand what you're asking, and everybody here thought it.
Because it's nice to have a safety, right? Like.
Yeah, I just don't think your degree is as safe as you think.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean that, and by the way, like, it's an important conversation. Parents grew up in an era where a degree was safe, but companies, guys, watch the world. The biggest companies in the world every day are stopping requiring college degrees. It's just not as valuable. So, but it might be, but for you, forget about a general concept. For you, maybe that degree would have been good. What I'm saying is, you're not gonna know. So choose, live, and then if it works out, great, and if it doesn't, adjust. Everybody thinks they can have the perfect decision. There is no perfect decision. There's just life. So pick and be happy with it.
Thank you so much, Gary. I love you.
I love you back.
Hi, Gary.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Tremendous.
Okay. Just a quick story. I actually applied for VaynerMedia. I followed your content for 5 years already, and
Thank you.
It's been amazing so far. So I applied for VaynerMedia like 4 years, so 1 year into watching your content.
Okay.
Tried for 2 years, didn't get any reply. I even tried for internship.
Yep.
I even tried for work for free, but I didn't get any replies. But all good. But my question is actually, how would you actually identify what are you actually doing right now is the right thing for you?
As a human?
As a human, as in a career?
Completely the same answer I just gave that young woman. You have no idea.
When would you know?
When you die.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. Guys, and I know it's like fun and everything, but it's the truth. You don't know. Like there's no time machine, there's no future machine. We're all over-analyzing everything. Like, how do you know? You don't. Like, this is why I keep trying to push people. The only thing that I know seems practical is, are you happy? Are you happy today? Feels like it's the right thing. Are you this is important. You can't analyze. Like, I didn't know that starting a YouTube show for my wine business was gonna be the reason that I was gonna have a huge investing career. I couldn't see that. There's a million things I've done wrong. It's because I didn't do something that would have sent me somewhere else, but I have no idea. You don't know. You don't.
You've been thinking about these characters, Henry the Gardener, you've been feeling them for a while, but how did you make the jump from that to actually hand drawing hundreds of them and putting yourself out there? Because regardless of what the output of art is, it's vulnerable, it's scary.
I'm not scared.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. I'm not scared. I'll tell you why. I don't think of myself as special, and I definitely don't value your opinion, pro or con, in a good way. I know, like, some of you I've interacted with a lot of you a lot, and some of you will come up and be like, I know you don't hear the cheering, but like, I want you to know it meant a lot. Of course that means a lot to me. I'm not saying I don't give a fuck and I'm fucking unemotional fucking unstoppable force. It's that I'm just in a very neutral place. It's fucking zened out for me. Like, when people are like, he's the greatest, I'm like, that's so nice. When people are like, he's a piece of shit, I'm like, you'll see. Like, it's just all kind of very chill. It's all kind of very chill. And so, for me, I wasn't scared of putting myself out there. To answer your question, it's super fun for D-Rock and Andy to be here, because D-Rock, did you film it or was it Babin or somebody else when we did the Workplace Warrior meeting with the toy guy? You did. D-Rock and I have film that is gonna fucking rock you when we put it out. Here's some, not alpha, but like a fun thing. Like there is a full 1 hour filmed meeting with a toy creator from Asia, consultant, where in 2018 or late 17, oh, right before COVID. So 19? Oh, that right before? Well, this is where I'm going. Wait, yeah. No, it's even more scary because by the time we got to those meetings, oh, you're right, because there was 18 meetings virtually, then the 19 physical that we filmed, but it started with 17. In 2017, the idea of Workplace Warriors was happening in my head because I was getting so many DMs from so many people saying I hate my fucking job. And one time I really got upset in my office, like it was like 3 in a row, like people really unhappy. Like just on some like, you know, if someone's unhappy, they can write you a real masterpiece. And you know, I'm reading this shit. And then, this is no joke, and then I'm going to the bathroom in the office, and on the walk, I just noticed that almost every cubicle had like Simpsons toys, this to that, the other thing, and I'm like, huh, people are so unhappy at work. People like to communicate through these little things and look at them. What if I made a whole universe of characters that people could put on their desk and look at, and maybe I can push my things. I think, do you remember this, Andy? I think it was Patient Parrot first in Workplace, right? I think in Workplace Warriors, it was Patient Parrot, not Panda, but the characters were already kind of happening. So it was happening. We didn't get to it because of COVID. And then with NFT World, when I understood, I'm like, when I had my eureka, I'm like, oh, this is it. I went right back to the thing that was like most in my head for a while. I started to understand utility and events and what we're doing right now. So like, they're gonna be friends with each other. Oh, be friends. So it started, and that's how I put it all together.
Sometimes when we create, we expect this lightning genius moment to hit, and then we have to put it on paper. So you guys, when you're staring at your paper in a bit, might feel that pressure, but sometimes these things take time, and you don't even know you've been developing them until they come out.
Can I it's a great call out. So we're about to go serious here. You're about to create a character, a mascot. Something profound is gonna happen in this room today. I like genuinely believe one of you is gonna do something right now they have no fucking idea you're about to do, and something insane is gonna happen next 20 years. I'm so pumped for today's event, you can't imagine. But when you do it, to that point, which is why, thank you for giving me the mic, I wanted to say this. It's gonna be like, all right, go, and you're gonna be like, what the, like, you know, try to think about some shit that you've been thinking about. Like, try to think, like, the reason Be-Friends is gonna work is I really care about it. Like, I really do care about accountable, I'm obsessed with accountable ant. Like, I think about accountable ant every day. I'm like, one day I'm gonna teach the world to be accountable, and everybody will be happy. Like, you know, I think that, like, it really matters. So, you're about to do this, you could, you know, you're with your buddies, right? A lot of you are like, you know, like high schooling it up right now, sitting with your friend that you've been jamming with, but like, when you get to the part that what we're here for, give it a second and maybe even start now of like, what have you been thinking about? What has been true to you? What have you given a real fuck about forever? It will matter so much more than trying to come up with something clever. Or the reverse, like what I just said is, I don't think anybody here feels any fucking pressure about what they're about to do. I think it's the reverse. I think everybody here should realize, like, you may actually do something right now that changes the course of your life. So, not to put pressure on you, but like, no, but meaning find that in between. It's back to like that in between, right? Like, it's not pressure, but on the flip side, don't just mail it in with what we're about to do. Like, push a little bit. See what you, try to remember what you feel or what you think about or what's been a consistent for you.
For sure. Well, one of the interesting things is you talked about these characters, these adjectives before the nouns are all your characters. And so in thinking about it, you didn't just say it's an ant or a swan. I love the sweet swan, not biased, but they each have a characteristic. And, you know, we talked about the importance of making someone feel. Elisa pointed out that it was like character development in terms of the actual, you know, symbol or the character, like the image, but it's character of values. Why the choice for putting values with these animals, which would have done great regardless, but you've always talked about leading with your values, kindness, empathy, all the things. You chose that at a date.
You know, I don't, for a lot of people here were in my sphere, and we were, you know, that's how so many people got into V1, and there's a lot of V1 people here. Like I really had a genuine eureka moment. Like Web 3 is Web 2 and Web 1. Like, I understand that the price of NFTs are down. That doesn't change the macro technology. So when I had the eureka moment of like, oh fuck, this is gonna be like 10 to 15 year thing again, like the last two things. But then when I put the whole, oh fuck, this might be the intellectual property, why I was collecting Happy Days shit and Pokemon, like, oh fuck. Like this was like not only like fuck, like social media, I gotta make content. I never thought anybody on earth would ever know who I was. So that was not natural. I just knew I had to make content to learn social media, so I did a wine show. But it wasn't like that's what I wanted to do. I was 30 years old. I'd never thought that anyone would know who I was. I just wanted to be a businessman. I still do, right? With this one though, it's like, oh shit, something big's happening, but it's about something I've always cared about. I can, instead of buying Scooby-Doo and refurbishing it, I can create my own. So the second that happens, Juan, it was like, okay, I've got to take this serious. Like, what am I going to do? The Workplace Warrior thing was based on emotion for me. The whole Garyvee thing is like, I'm providing value. Like, what's value? Value comes in a million forms. The value I think I can bring at my best is I'm a good communicator that enables other humans to potentially look at something from a different angle that may unlock a happier output, a more joyful thing, a less stressful thing. Like, I really care about this. It like really fucking matters to me. It's how I originally, and all of you know this, originally I kept saying Disney. A lot of you are quite astute. I mean, not like fucking German, but like, you know, like a lot, you know, I'm sure you noticed, or maybe when I say this, it'll hit for you. Somewhere around 9-10 months ago, I started bringing in Sesame Street a lot more. Why? Because as I've been building VeeFriends, I'm like, wait a minute. Jim Henson was really like, oh shit, this feels like, wait a minute, the way I feel, now that I'm learning, I'm like, it's a little more Jim Henson, Fraggle Rock to stop war, Sesame Street to create inclusion. I'm like, okay, this is like different. So like, that really matters to me. So to me, it's about the attributes. The whole thing's about empathy and kindness and patience and accountability. And by the way, competitiveness, because I really believe in being competitive. I think being competitive is extremely healthy. I think being competitive is extremely good. Like anything, if you're overboard, it's not good. Well, guess what? Drinking alcohol overboard is not good. Like, you know, and so like, I think, you know, for me, the whole thing's about the attributes. To me, a lion is amazing, but being logical and like us talking deeper about it matters. Like intuitive iguana is going to get a lot of momentum. Why? Why do I know that? And what? Please, no speculation. But let me explain what I mean. Lately, I've been in a very weird place. I'm like, whoa, I don't think we think about intuition enough in the world. Like the more, like, you know, you start getting like, you know, we're all going through our journeys. I'm like, man, if somebody like back to like, what's your spirit? If somebody had, like push comes to shove, like, what is it? I'm like, it's probably intuition. Like above everything else, like so much for me has been intuition, my comfort, not being scared to be intuitive. So like, as I evolve, as my team evolves, we're bringing in lots of pros and lots of things. These characters are going to evolve, but it's only about that. Like to make intuitive iguana or accountable ant super duper important is about getting people in the world to give a fuck about those two traits. So it's the whole thing for me. Do you know that the reason that I got into better shape, because you've seen Pudgy Gary in the old videos, was because I'm accountable to Mike McConty. I want to make Mike, my trainer, proud. That's what's driving me still to this day. That's why I hired a babysitter. I'm doing it for him. I think the reason I've built very good companies and the people that work for me, that know me, that like me, it's because I'm built for that. I am telling all of you to your direct faces, I feel an extraordinary sense of responsibility to all of you to make this successful. I know you're in charge of your own decisions. I fully believe that. I don't feel anything on that. Everybody here is a big boy, big girl. They could have sold before, they could have sold that. Like, you're in charge. But let there be no confusion. I feel an extraordinary sense of responsibility to make this a remarkably successful intellectual property and to make sure that people that believed in me, that it would work out for them, win that debate they have with their friends and their relatives and their homies. And I sit here right this second without any doubt that as long as God blesses me with health, that when everybody wakes the fuck up in 30 years, that VeeFriends will be the single most successful project out of this era. And I live that truth every single day. And so much of it, like trying to make my parents proud, or trying to deliver for Mike Vacanti of iHealth, or doing it for Dustin and the team and Andrew and everybody else and D-Rock and Andy, that's my natural state. That's what gets me off. And I want to do that for all of you, and I'm really up for the challenge. Like, the reality is the thought of getting grown-ups out of junior high dynamics is a huge passion of mine, right? Like, we're now in an era where because of the advancements of technology, a lot of us put ourselves out there in a way that the generations before us didn't. You know, there was gossip in the neighborhood, but now we're playing at a world stage if one chooses to contribute to the world stage and produce content on social platforms and consume it. The reason it's so easy for me to do that in a world where so many people do it and stop, don't do it at all, is because every time I'm dealt with negative energy, comments, judgment, my brain goes to a place of empathy and compassion for the person that's doing that to me, not to a place of me being in a place that I'm feeling bad for myself. If I'm gonna feel bad for myself, it's gonna be because I'm disappointed in my own behavior, and I'm the judge and the jury of that. Somebody leaving judgment on me from a place of their own insecurity or lack of full knowledge is hard for me to get going because it's not practical. I'm aware that most humans on Earth live it in reverse. So the message is, once you stop feeling bad for yourself and start thinking logically, a human being took time out of their day to come to your channel and leave a comment to tear you down, to give them a micro moment of feeling better from their own pain, is not something that should put you down. It should actually make you happy that you're not doing that behavior. Right, I was always the person, long before there was an internet, in junior high and high school, who was lucky enough, back to being parented the way that I was, that I knew that I was the emotional strength for my circle. That, you know, when friends were upset that girls were dissing them, or they didn't make the team, or they got bad grades, or, you know, I grew up in very blue collar, lower blue collar than blue collar New Jersey. So a lot of my friends had parents that were abusing alcohol and drugs, a lot of like damaged homes. There was just a lot of stuff going around me, yet my home was so epic and so good. And so it was almost like this, first of all, it was in my DNA, but it was also like some level of guilt. You know, there's a part of me that was like, I have it so good when I go home, so many people around me don't, that it just kind of like, I kept kind of like leaning into it. It became my norm. And then what started happening was, so I never really, what is happening is not on my radar my entire life. Not even, when I talk to the youngsters and I say, you've got time and be patient, at 30 years old, there was never a day in my life that I thought people would know who I was. I was running a wine business. I'm a businessman. I like businessmen who I think are operators. I'm just being a businessman. I thought people in the business world would know. Like, if you owned a liquor store, you're like, oh, that guy in New Jersey's doing it. Like, so it happened. Then the wine show started on YouTube. Then I'm like, wait, I have a gift of gab. People like what I'm doing. And then it just kept happening. So somewhere around 37, 35, 36, I'm like, I want to talk about business, and I didn't even realize how much of what I thought about business was actually grounded in emotional intelligence, right? So as I'm making business videos, I'm reading the comments, and people are like, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, you don't worry about this, or you go fast because if you make a mistake, it's okay. And then I started reading the emails, reading the direct message. I'm like, wait, people are scared to fail. People are scared of this, scared of this, scared. And then I'm like, oh my God, almost everyone is based on fear. And so like then I'm just like, I have to make content about this and this and this. And so it just kind of happened. And honestly, I feel like I haven't even begun. Like, when I think about the subject matters, like the whole school thing, when I started first talking about the vulnerabilities of us binarily believing that everyone should go to college and that was happiness, that wasn't because I was a bad student and I wanted to talk about getting back at school. It was something I never thought of. It was because I was getting 1,000 emails and DMs a week from people struggling on this subject matter. or immigrant kids trying to live up to their parents' engineering and doctor goals for them when they hated it, or a million other things. So for me, it's just listening and then creating. You know, as you go through your journey, brother, you've got all your thoughts of what you want to talk about now, love and peace. Very quickly, you're going to get those things out. It's going to be the comments from the community that are going to lead to your next thoughts. So much of what I talk about is based on what people are saying to me. It starts with listening. So I feel good about it. I feel like I have a lot of love and happiness to give. And I think it's the biggest contribution humans can make to each other. I think the world right now is in a place where people that are unhappy have figured out to communicate. They can drag down others, and that's why there's so much anxiety in the world. I think the people that are happy have not figured out their personal responsibility to put out content of happiness, and I think that will be the next step. I just think I'm early, like I am in a lot of things, so I think that's what I'm doing.
Something I struggle with a lot is self-doubt, you know.
From the parents.
Not just that, but I put it on myself. Like a lot of it.
No, you don't. No, you don't. This is the number one mistake that everybody thinks. Everybody thinks that they put their own self-doubt on themselves. It's actually not how it works. Outside forces got into your head and then made you self-doubt. You think it's your voice. Nobody's voice hates them in the beginning. It's a voice that's been implanted in you, either in the beginning from your neighborhood, an outside force, often parents. And so where people get really fucked up is they think like when I talk about like don't listen to the Joneses, they're like, fuck, you know, I don't care about other people. It's that I shit on myself. And I'm trying to get people to understand, you're not shitting on yourself. You've taken on the voice of somebody from the outside. You weren't born with like, I hate me. You've taken on the voice of somebody from the outside. It's very important that you understand this. I'll tell you why. It gets a lot easier if you actually believe it and understand it, because then you can understand it versus laying there and being like, why do I hate myself? You know what I mean?
Okay.
You don't. Somebody implanted their insecurities on you. It's why a lot of people get value out of me, because through my practical optimism, not my delusional you're an 8th place trophy, but from my practical optimism, if people keep putting that voice in their ears, the reason people listen to so much of my content is I'm optimistic, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and be like, if you just wish it, it happens. And in that balance, over time, if that's what goes into your ears, then all of a sudden you start believing it. Like, I genuinely believe it. I believe that the two of us should never doubt ourselves. Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, go do and deal with like, I think I suck at most things, but I need to go find that out for myself, not do it because I'm worried about somebody judging me on my failure. Like, this is just the way it is. I'm just really happy that you're even like that we're interacting this much, because like, honestly, you know, it's funny. I just want people to listen to me as much as possible until they don't need to listen to me, and then I don't want them to listen to me at all. More importantly, listen to me, this is binary. You need to if you use this time that we've interacted, this time, to understand that any level of self-doubt or insecurity that you have in your head is literally been put inside of it, and it's not you doing it to you, it will change your fucking young life.